Reporting. To discuss all this, let's bring in Nader Hashemi, the director of the Center for Middle East Studies at the Joseph Corbell School of International Studies at the University of Denver. We heard some of what the Crown Prince said at this conference, finally publicly talking about Khashoggi. He said that it was a crime that's painful to all Saudis. He said it can't be justified. Read between the lines for us. What's he actually saying?
I think he's actually saying that the Crown Prince is here to stay, that they're going to try and spin a completely different narrative that most people in the world view as existing in a parallel universe, and that they're going to just try and ride this storm out, hoping that the international community will get tired of this story and slowly reconnect with Saudi Arabia for reasons of economic and business interests. I think that's very much the plan.
Are they right, though? The big story in the United States today is certainly these attempted attacks on Democrats. Khashoggi is no longer leading the coverage.
Well, that's right. I mean, it's starting to slip from the headlines, but I think what the Crown Prince doesn't realize is that this murder is much bigger now than just one individual. It's turning into a global movement. It's appealing to people from different constituencies, journalists, people who are concerned about the global spread of authoritarianism, people who are very upset with simply the politics of Donald Trump and despise the fact that Trump has embraced this Crown Prince, although yesterday's comments seemed that he's starting to distance himself from him. So I think if that's the plan, I think it's a risk, it's a calculation. But I think in many ways, there's nowhere for the Crown Prince to go. It's pretty clear that he's deeply implicated in this scandal. To what extent, we don't know. But he can't admit involvement in the murder, so he has to try and deny and obfuscate. And I think that's the hope, that the world will just get tired of it, and then it will be back to business as usual with Saudi Arabia.
Let's look at the Trump administration for a moment and what they have done. Mike Pompeo pulled some Saudi visas. Is that a sign to you? Should that be a sign to you that Washington said, this is all we're going to do and we want to move on?
Well, it's unclear. You know, from the time that this scandal broke, there's been so many flip-flops from the White House. One day it seems like they're taking the Saudi claim that this was a rogue operation as credible, and then the next day, President Trump is saying this is the worst cover-up in history. So I think they're struggling. I interpret that as there's a deep internal debate in the White House as to whether they should try and stick by the Crown Prince or try and, distance themselves from him, hoping that a better leader will come in the aftermath. If that's the plan, if it's plan B, hoping to sort of remove him from office, that raises a whole series of complicated questions about internal Saudi politics. All the reports and all the indications seem to suggest that the Crown Prince has consolidated power. There are no rival power centers, and his father, who theoretically can remove him, is 82 years old and is not really in the best of mental health. So I don't think there's a lot of good options here for the United States to play.
Last 30 seconds we have here. We're not hearing any more information today from Turkey. They've been leaking out a lot of information. Does that tell you that they've shown all their cards already?
No, I think the Turkish government has played their cards very carefully, very successfully. We still don't know where the body is. And apparently this audio tape was released to the CIA director, and she called it very credible. So the Turks have a lot more that they can use, a lot more cards they can play that can deeply embarrass the Saudi government. The big question is, can they implicate MBS, the Crown Prince, in this murder? If they can, then it's game over for the Crown Prince.
All right, lots of twists and turns here. Nader Hashemi, thanks for breaking that down for us.